With the release of Monster Hunter Wilds and its roster of over 40 of the most powerful monsters we have ever seen, new and returning, I figured there was no better time than now to talk about Monster Hunter World's most notorious one of the hardest bosses ever created, and a tale of an Elder Dragon so powerful it was named the embodiment of destruction. Written in the annals of Monster Hunter history, this Elder Dragon is more than that. It's the one that the others are afraid of. It's the imbalance to the balance that Elder Dragons are meant to be. The Monster Hunter community was simply not ready for how terrifying this beast would be, and its name embodies everything you need to know. Meet Fatalis. Every monster in Monster Hunter World that was new was teased with a sort of still image for a size comparison chart, some pictures that alluded to them without outright just giving credence to their existence. But Fatalis had a full 3D render with full animations, and the Monster Hunter team denied this dragon being in the game, which we would find out was not the case. If you've played Monster Hunter World, then in some way you're playing Monster Hunter Wilds. Wilds will be essentially a spiritual successor in terms of its gameplay style and its world of a big experience sandbox. Monster Hunter World was like a grand journey into what I always wanted a Jurassic Park game to be. A world with the goal to hunt big monsters or capture them, use their resources to get better gear and better weapons, and then hunt bigger monsters. The loop is simple, yet it's so addicting because every fight tends to feel new due to, well, the world. It's in the name of the game. Random objects, bombs, destructibles, and learning the monsters just by tracking, capturing, or hunting them. As you progress the endgame and time went on in general with a lot of updates, the biggest of all of these updates was called Iceborne. Iceborne is one of the best pieces of Monster Hunter content, period. It takes the format of the world and really just evolves every aspect of it. One of the best additions was adding a grapple hook so you could get close and hit the monster with a cool animation for a bunch of helpful slinger ammo. Another set of additions were richer world building, stronger monsters, better gear, quality of life changes, and of course new monsters. As you continued your path into Iceborne, a fear was set into the story. Now, there were always Elder Dragons in Monster Hunter World, the base game, and Iceborne. Dragons so powerful that they were capable of changing entire biomes of weather. But one of them was a tale of nothing but fear. Legends claiming it wiped out entire civilizations, with one of the most well-known tales of an ancient kingdom that tried to harness this monster's power, only to be completely annihilated. The dragon's hatred was so intense that the melted remains of knights and their armor were said to be fused to its own flesh. Now, of course, we learned that this is none other than Fatalis, but what I learned crafting for this video was that Fatalis has appeared in multiple Monster Hunter games since the original 2004 game, serving as the final challenge too. It has various subspecies. There's a Crimson Fatalis and a White Fatalis, which hasn't actually been killed. These have expanded its legend over time. After the defeat of Elatrion, the guild detects an unusual activity at Castle Shrade, a location long abandoned due to this asshole. The Fifth Fleet, a group that you're introduced to in World, is set to investigate, alongside a knight that the fanbase of Monster Hunter believes is a reference to older Monster Hunter games. They discovered that Fatalis had returned, and it's more powerful than ever before. It's pretty obvious then that for the final challenge of the final DLC, and an already pretty brutal game, that Fatalis would be insane. But you really just have to see it to believe it. One of the fun fan theories is that Fatalis wasn't supposed to be the final monster, with fans pointing to COVID-19 concerns, talks in the game, and potentially time constraints. Whether you agree or disagree on this, I'll let you guys talk about it in the comments, but from the get-go, you're in an arena with one hitch post and one camp, just you and Fatalis. To even unlock the ability to play this fight with others, you must beat the first phase on your own. Instead of friends, you do have the NPCs embodies helping you too. Not really much of a help, but they're there so you at least have some semblance of a chance. Players had to deal with a boss that could melt steel beams, unlike jet fuel, and had cannons around the arena specifically for you to even weaken it. Fatalis would call for you to almost always be in a ghillie suit if you wanted a chance to even sharpen your blades, and you needed to be near perfect with the maxed out best gear to even stand a chance here. I can speak on a personal anecdote that some of my friends who have sunk hundreds of hours into Monster Hunter have only beaten this boss just a few times, and each time they have new stories. This is like if Bale from Elden Ring was a raid boss. This is like combining Meteor's range plus Citisax's spectacle and Bale's anger into one monster that has 3 full phases. This boss fight is harder than Millennia, and that is with 5 revives. The first phase is Survive. My favorite of all the attacks here has to be just the raw fire breath, since if you have a shield, you can actually tank it and keep going. It's not necessarily just the raw anger, aggression, and fire of the boss, but Fatalis also just does a lot of damage and instantly burns you on attacks. It made an already difficult boss that much more frustrating. But in Fatalis's case, it's hard to not just gawk at the fight more than get annoyed by dying. And you will see that cart a lot. After, well, carting hundreds of times, and I mean hundreds, players eventually got through. And once they did, they had to watch this.
Nope, too early to celebrate. Oh man.
Okay, how did they not get burned to death here? I guess plot armor really is stronger than all. Now with the unlocking stage out of the way, you could take this boss on solo or with a full team, and phase 2 began. I will just call this phase the SOS flare phase because now you could bring in friends. And this is where the fight really picks up. The arena gets opened up more to add more space for a group, and, well, for Fatalis to roam around. Speaking of roaming around, there's even a roaming ballista, another normal ballista, including a binder shot, and Fatalis starts flying in the air more here. Fatalis is infinitely more aggressive in this phase as well. The already angry dragon basically knew you were worth a fight, and sent with it so much more rage. On the side of team fighting, this is both a curse and a blessing, because yeah, you have teammates to help you fight Fatalis, but you also had less cards for revives if someone was struggling in the fight, whereas solo was essentially your own controlled encounter. You just had to not be the one struggling. I love this section since it's one giant roller coaster of dodge and hit, and with the ballisticas, you're doing a rail shooter. Once your team suffered hundreds of deaths to Fatalis, the phase ended with another giant fire breath attack, and you had to be behind a gate you closed in the back, because if not, yeah, you were just burning to death. And just have a look at what happens. This was now the beginning of phase 3, ultimate destruction. The sky has become a vessel for Fatalis to draw fire from. The space around you erupts in fire, and you have to keep the Elder Dragon down with ballista shots to even deal damage. Breaking the head was the only way to weaken the boss even a little bit, but good luck consistently breaking the head while it's doing these attacks.
So no head?
Blue fire, faster attacks than ever, as the intensity of the fight picks up far beyond the past 2 phases and you hit that Dragonator, becoming the apex predator in the arena. Well, at this point, I'll just let you guys see how this one went down. After Fatalis' defeat, you might think that your rewards were grand. And yeah, they were. I mean, look at this armor and all of the loot that comes with Fatalis. It's amazing. But Fatalis would even haunt you from the grave, and I'm almost certain Bale is a reference to Fatalis, since this armor, much like Bale's heart, is said to consume the wearer as hunters who have Fatalis armor apparently disappear in the lore. It's the strongest gear in the game by far, and it just looks incredible too. Fatalis is more than just a monster, more than an elder dragon. It is a legend, a force of nature, and the very embodiment of destruction in the Monster Hunter universe. Across generations, its name has been spoken in legends, a reminder that no matter how far humanity advances, some evils remain beyond control. Unlike other elder dragons, which exist in balance with nature, Fatalis stands apart as an anomaly, one driven by pure hatred, a being whose mere presence rewrites the fate of entire civilizations. Fatalis was the original final boss, and was not just a battle, but a testament to the franchise's legacy of pushing hunters to their absolute limits. Those who faced it stood on the ruins of a fallen kingdom, staring into the abyss of history itself, knowing that failure meant becoming just another forgotten echo in Fatalis' wake. The fight was not merely about survival. It was a desperate stand against an enemy that had already written the fate of countless before. Yet, even in the face of insurmountable odds, the Monster Hunter community rose to the challenge. Through fire, ash, probably rage, and through seemingly impossible trials, they stood defiant. Whether as a nightmare or as the ultimate proving ground, Fatalis' legacy remains eternal. A final test whispered in the annals of Monster Hunter history. Thank you for watching, and hopefully Monster Hunter Wilds will have their own Fatalis one day. Looking at you, White Fatalis. Anyway, have a good one. And hey, if you're watching this video, I'm probably playing Monster Hunter Wilds right now. You can just throw me on in the background if you want to. I don't want to interrupt your hunts, but come hunt alongside me on Twitch.